This is so freaking good. To be honest, I'm currently incredibly sick, and I should probably be in bed, but I've been playing the God of War Ragnarok Valhalla DLC, and it's just so surprising that I wanted to turn on the camera and talk about it. So if you could do me a favor, like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. It'll help me heal up, whatever. Hi, I'm DreamcastGuy, and I'll admit it, I very much love God of War 2018 and Ragnarok. They're some of my favorite PS4 and PS5 games because they're such a delicious exploration of the main character Kratos, watching him battle against literal gods, solving crazy puzzles, dealing with some pretty impossible tasks. And the Valhalla DLC, it's not only really good, it's not only an exploration of the character that we haven't had before, but it's completely different. This is a roguelike. This is literally a randomized set of dungeons that people are going to be playing pretty much forever if you enjoy this style of combat. Now, this is going to be completely spoiler-free, but I wanted to talk about this because I'm so impressed by the fact that this costs $0. They did not charge even a single buck for such a big new chunk of gameplay. Now, this does have new stuff. You might be thinking that this is just some little side mini game. It's not that. This technically takes place after the conclusion of the main story of God of War Ragnarok, and now Kratos is sort of just exploring the lands when he randomly gets an invitation to come to Valhalla. Now, for those who maybe don't know a lot about mythology, this is the land of the dead, and somehow Kratos is able to enter it. Walking in, though, he has to pay a price. He loses all the upgrades he currently has. Now, basically, this is just an excuse to bring him back down to level 1 and give him the basic abilities again, but this also does something incredibly interesting. While you're playing this, you have all the weapons, but every run is slightly different. Valhalla has a specific motto to it: know thyself, master thyself. And that's the crux of this. You're going to be fighting through some familiar locations. Different bosses you may already know can show up. Classic enemies are going to appear, but there's also a lot of new twists to it. Now, if you've never played a roguelike, the general concept of it is that typically death is not a detriment. Failing to win is not really that big of a problem. It's about seeing how far you can get through a bunch of randomized levels. Every time you walk through the gates of Valhalla, you get choices. Different upgrades, different runes, different glyphs. Now, what that means, in case you haven't played God of War already, is essentially different styles of magic and different styles of stat. Every time you play this, you begin back at level 1 with your basic weapons and no special abilities to them. But as you progress, you always get different choices. Okay, do I want extra strength and just try to melee people down? Do I want to get the ability to revive myself once per run? Do I want an ability to shoot more ice out of my axe or my combos be more devastating? Do I want to have it where if I stagger an opponent, I might automatically get healed? These choices are incredibly addictive to me because part of the fun of it is that while you're doing these runs over and over and over again, you have to make different choices. I mostly love the axe. I think the Leviathan axe is just such a cool, iconic weapon. But sometimes I would just get unlucky and not get any axe abilities. So I ended up having to rely more on Draupnir, the spear, or maybe I have to actually focus more on my chains of chaos to do different fire combos. I like the fact that you do need to experience and practice all the different weapons. Now, there is actually an underlying sense of permanence because most of these runs, you just get these upgrades that fade off into the ether as soon as you die. You can get 15 different upgrades and buy cool stats and stuff, but once you bite the dust and fail that big parry, it's back to the shores of Valhalla and becoming level 1 once again. But there's an extra part of this. So there's 2 different styles of currency you're going to find as you explore these lands. there's something called fleeting echoes, which are a temporary currency. This makes it where for that particular run, you can buy upgrades. A lot of times I'll just spend this money to upgrade my health, or sometimes you can upgrade your runes so that if you have like a specific magic spell that you enjoy the most, you can dump a bunch of fleeting echoes to make that stronger for the rest of the run. But sometimes you'll find this stuff called mastery. Now, it's much more rare, but this essentially allows you to buy more permanent upgrades, stuff that persists from run to run. Now, as a person who plays a lot of roguelikes, this is one of my favorite mechanics, is slowly getting permanently stronger, getting a basic amount of rage that's just a higher amount, actually going deeper in there and feeling that cool sense of grit, grindy progress, raking your fingers through an impossible gauntlet and getting a little bit further each time. All right, so you may be asking yourself, what's the actual sense of progression to the dungeons themselves? Are you just walking in a straight line over and over and over again? Well, no, thankfully that's not the case. The goal of Valhalla is trying to figure out who sent you the invitation to come here. And you get some pretty interesting story. I think I've seen pretty much everything so far. And wowzers, is it a huge callback to classic God of War, paying off some old school storylines in a great way. But a big part of this is the idea of the sands of time. Certain enemies are called Valhalla's Chosen. These are bosses. They're big, huge, beefy boys that need to be taken down. And a lot of times, once you find these extra tough individuals, defeating those bosses permanently unlocks extra paths. So originally, everything is pretty linear. At the very beginning, you have one door that you can go through for each individual chamber. And while the enemies are randomized and the buffs are randomized, you're on a straight path. But as things begin to open up, you'll have branching paths, different doors that you can just look at the symbol on it and see, what upgrade is it? Am I going to be fighting another boss? Is this something that's going to give me more runic power or a new stat? But here's the extra cool part of it. As things begin to open up, the game changes. You actually get completely new abilities and face completely new enemies. This DLC is so expansive, like even just beyond the idea of replaying it over and over again and the glory of upgrading your new style of Kratos to his max level. I'm so blown away by the fact that getting deeper into this is actually exciting. Every time I finished off a boss and woke up back on the shores of Valhalla to find completely new paths, new options for progression, I was blown away. This is such an interesting twist on God of War. This is such a cool new direction for the series. I'm a huge fan of roguelikes, so obviously I'm biased here, but I must admit, I wish more games would try and do this. Make something that focuses on the gameplay. When I originally played God of War Ragnarok, I gave it a perfect score because I loved it so dang much, but a lot of my love and passion for that was the incredible story of Kratos. I loved watching his interactions with Atreus and going against Odin and Thor. Whereas here, the gameplay just shines through brilliantly. Now, if you're concerned you can't handle this high level of difficulty, you can choose to play it on everything from baby mode to ultra extreme difficulty. I do recommend normal difficulty. I do think you're going to have a pretty easy time. It definitely seems like it's made to be playable. It's made to be beaten. Give it a couple runs, fail a little bit, test a little bit, experiment a little bit, and see what's good. And after all, if you already own God of War Ragnarok, it's a free download. Give it a shot. Okay, well, these have been some off-the-cuff thoughts about God of War Ragnarok Valhalla DLC, but what do you guys think about it? Please tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you could, give this video a like and subscribe, and keep dreaming. I'm so sick. I feel so... Oh my god, these spotlights are not doing me any favors, I'll be honest. I'm already feel like I'm running a little bit of a fever, and now here I am staring at the spotlights. I appreciate you guys watching. I'm a workaholic. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.